I think it, yep. So for your lunchtime entertainment today, I'm Michael Houlemard. As we mentioned earlier, we're going to have a little presentation that outlines for all of you that are very interested in what's happening at Fort Ord, a little bit of the history and background of what's happening at Fort Ord and some of the opportunities that will be coming in future years. So if you've got a few minutes and in between each bite of that pizza that has your name on it or that sandwich that has your name on it, we're going to do a quick presentation for your. So, to start this out, I mentioned I'm the executive officer at the Fort Ord Reuse Authority. I've been in that position for 20 years this coming February, so I've been around a few years, and I was also involved in Fort Ord before that, working with the University of California. And so I've been involved since the initial discussions about labor, about prevailing wage, and all of the activities at Fort Ord. A little bit of a background on what we're talking about today, or at least an overview. Fort Ord, as you may have surmised, was formerly a military installation, United States Army Military Reservation, to be more precise. It was originally acquired in 1917 by the Army, but in fact, in the 19th century, well over 150 years ago, this property was being used for cavalry training by the folks that are at the Presidio of Monterey. And so it's long been a military facility with a lot of operations at military effect. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening on Fort Ord, but understand that Fort Ord is not the only installation that's been downsized or impacted by base closure. That base closure effect has really hurt a lot of communities. In this area, I mentioned the $500 million that was lost in direct dollars that contributed to this economy, but we've also seen in recent years a continual downsizing of the military, and the reason for that is the military no longer is infrastructure based as much as it is military weaponry and soldier professionalism based, and that's the concept for how our military defends the nation these days. So what is Fort Ord? I mentioned these items and so forth. A lot of Fort Ord was used over the years for different kinds of military training that resulted in remnant grenades, mortars, a lot of bullets, rockets in different parts of the base. We had some circumstances where there were washdown areas out by the Marina Municipal Airport that resulted in a burn pit that wound up with TCE and PCF and PCL contamination that resulted in other problems with the water. But as a training center, it was not as bad as many of the installations that did nuclear or chemical warfare training or those kinds of activities. So in some ways we have a misfortune, in other ways we're fortunate in contrast to others. So this base, which was officially closed in 1994, has now a 20-plus year history of recovery, and you can see a lot of the positives of recovery in the projects that Josh will talk about in a little while. What is the Fort Ord Reuse Authority? Well, we meet in this particular room. We've worked with the Carpenters Union over the years, thanks to Ron Cheshire. We came up with the idea that we could be a partner with the development community and the labor community to create partnerships that would help this space to be reused. This is a reuse effort that you're sitting in today. By partnering on what formerly was office buildings at the former Fort Ord, removing them and replacing them with effective, sustainable buildings, LEED certified in the case of the one next door, we were able to reuse this area. We're a regional agency, and everyone in this room has a representative on the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board. Do you know who your representative is? Most people are shaking their heads, but it includes every mayor of every jurisdiction from Carmel to Salinas. It includes 3 members of the County Board of Supervisors, our congressman, our state senator, our state assembly person from this area, and in addition, representatives from the Transportation Agency, from the Water Agency, from the Transit Agency, from the University of California. It's a 25-member board, 13 of them vote, and that's what FORA is all about everybody coming to the table together and making decisions that we all live with. Up there, there's a long list of the obligations, which includes building removal, munitions cleanup that I mentioned. Fort Ord Reuse Authority is the only local reuse authority in the nation that undertook the responsibility of doing its own munitions cleanup on the property that will be used for civilian purposes. Others have done other kinds of cleanup, like McClellan Air Force Base up in Sacramento, not for munitions, but for the cleanup of the TCE and the groundwater. In terms of the base reuse plan that we adopted the principles that this community thought were the best principles to be used for recovering from the closure, which is to build upon what we do well in the Monterey Bay, which is preserving our economy through education, which is what we do very well here. We have everything from UC Santa Cruz to CSU Monterey Bay to York School to Monterey Peninsula College to the Monterey Institute of Research Astronomy to Monterey College of Law to Naval Postgraduate School to the Defense Language Institute, Chartwell School, and many other educational entities that create a very solid contribution to the research and development of this region. And so expanding that was a natural for Fort Ord, and so that's what happens here. We have the UCMBES Center, we have the expansion of Ryan Ranch, we have the potential for research and development right here in the Dunes Project on the former Fort Ord. So there's a number of entities where that's important. And in doing that, it was very important that the economy recognize that environmental protection and the assets that we have in the environment are also crucial. And what I mean by that is the tourism in this region is the third leg of the agriculture, education, and tourism components that comprise our economy. And protecting the environment is not just about because it's important to protect endangered species or endangered plants, but that those are assets that bring people to this community that spend money that create jobs. New hotels, new restaurants, new facilities that folks come here to enjoy the Monterey Bay. It's important to keep that asset valuable. So protecting the environment is part of that educational and economic recovery program. Okay. Did I do that right? Reuse progress. So in 1997, we adopted a base reuse plan that assumed we would replace. And I use the term replace for very important reasons. This project on Fort Ord is not a growth project. It's not an expansion project. It's a replacement project. We're replacing what we lost. When Fort Ord closed, there were approximately 36,000 folks living here. There were residential units, there were educational facilities, there were other services that provided for the soldiers that were here. In losing that, we had a big sucking sound in our local economy. Everything sort of a vacuum was created, where apartment buildings began to get a rise in their vacancy rates as the soldiers were leaving. The restaurants didn't see services. The stores saw drops in their sales. And it was because the 36,000 folks that were tied to the soldiers that were here, the 15,000 plus soldiers, all left town. And the money that they spent here went with them. So what are we doing? We're replacing that. And so our base reuse plan roughly calls for replacing what we lost. 37,000 folks, 18,000 jobs, 11 or 12,000 housing units. Somewhat of a mirror reflection of what we had at Fort Ord when it was up and running at full speed in 1990. So where are we today? Those numbers on the side tell you that we made some progress, because we went from 36,000 to roughly a few hundred folks living on Fort Ord between 1992 and 1994, because the soldiers left, the civilians left, their families left. And so from 1994, 5, 6, where we only had a few hundred folks on Fort Ord, to today, we've increased that population by 13,000 plus folks. And we've created a number of jobs, most of them at CSU Monterey Bay, but jobs all across the full platform. So that's what's happening, and you can see the number of permits that's coming for residential down here in the corner. If you want to get copies of this PowerPoint, Josh says she's going to put it on the website for you to pick up later. Our ongoing obligations are pretty clear. There's a long list there. It includes all of the things that we have to do to be able to supply a whole new community and do it in a civilian way, in a municipal way. It's different when you're doing an operation for military. You do it much more inline, orthogonal. You don't respect sort of the interaction that occurs in a municipal or a civilian community, but that's what we're doing here. Creating the underlying infrastructure of water, power, gas, communications, roadway networks, parks, public facilities are all listed there. So, in terms of this item, our land use summary, the one important thing I want to list on here is not the particular number of acres that are any one kind of project. Most of it is education. But down there on the bottom it says business, industrial, retail, residential. Those are the private developments. That's only 3,600 acres out of the 28,000 acres at Fort Ord. Relatively small amount. But guess what? It's the development of those 3,600 acres that generates 100% of the revenue that pays for the reuse program. The land sales, the taxes, the developer fees. Is that right, Don Hofer? The developer fees, Don, is that part of what pays for what we do here? Those all come from those 3,600 acres. So it's not like this is a particularly big time replacement project. We're not destroying the local community. We're not interfering with protecting the environment. We're using a very small amount of this property to generate the revenue for what we do at Fort Ord. Now I'm going to turn this over to Josh Metz, who's going to take over and finish the presentation.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm the Economic Development Manager here. I've been here about 3 years and began as a planner, and about a year and a half ago was lucky enough to move into this new position, which is quite a bit more proactive in terms of working to create new opportunities along with the reuse and recovery program that Michael was talking about. So I'm just going to walk you through some slides of recent progress that's been happening around the base, some of which you'll all recognize. Many perhaps were participating in some of the opening events recently. But certainly where we sit now within the dunes development, we're sitting about right here. And you can see the scope of this specific plan encompasses the whole area around us and has significant housing and mixed use, commercial and office as part of that, along with a number of public open spaces. So this will be a central development to the whole recovery program, and we're glad to see it moving along increasingly swiftly these days. Part of that development is the soon-to-open fast casual restaurants over at the shopping center. That'll be the first restaurant dining facility on the base, which is much desired by the community. So we're all looking forward to that. There's going to be a Blaze Pizza here, a Teriyaki Madness. There's actually going to be a gym that's going to go up top here, and over in the corner there'll be a sleep train, so you can work, sleep, eat, and get coffee, and we're looking forward to that opening soon. The Marriott Spring Hill Suites, you'll see that hotel looming up above 2nd Avenue, and we're looking forward to that moving to completion. That's 106 rooms and will open soon, hopefully. The cinema is already open, has some expansion potential, but is there and entertaining folks, and is a centerpiece to what will come there, which is a big promenade, walking, shopping area that's to be followed shortly. The joint VA-DOD clinic that had a ribbon cutting last week or two. Here's the mayor of Marina doing some remarks, and it was quite a nice day under the tent with all the dignitaries there, but certainly that opening will drive what we've already seen, increased interest by medical service providers, including the Davida dialysis clinic, which is right across the parking lot here from us. And so that's this building here, and also this is the new BLM headquarters. Those are both within this little office park, and so we're glad to have neighbors. And as these developments continue to grow, we see increased interest in all that's going on around here. The Promontory Student Housing Project is also open and operating, with a second one being planned. Up on the CSUMB campus, they've just opened the Business and Information Technology building, which is quite a nice building that's housing the business program, which is getting a lot of attention. We're working closely with them on some startup entrepreneurship endeavors, and we look forward to that growing partnership as a way to catalyze continued job creation and economic recovery here. Recently, the Central Coast Veteran Cemetery was opened. This is from October 11th, and all the folks that turned out for that. This is phase one. There are subsequent phases to follow, and that'll continue to be a draw for folks to come back here and visit their relatives and so on. Also out east at East Garrison, heading out Inter-Garrison Road or Reservation Road. Many of you are probably familiar with the housing developments going on there. It's about, I believe, about 1,400 units with a downtown area that'll be here with an arts district and some other features. So this is going to continue to add residents to the area and be a draw for other commercial developers. One of the things folks look at, of course, is the number of rooftops people in the area before they're looking to make additional investments. So the more people we get here, the more compelling story we have to tell. So there are a number of things on the horizon. This is not an exhaustive list of everything that's going on, but I'll just highlight a few that you can look forward to. And the main point is, if you're interested in becoming engaged on any of these projects, proactive outreach to the cities and their development partners would get folks in position to bid and potentially participate. So the Marina Heights project, which is just up Imgen Parkway, has pulled permits for 4 model homes that are currently being built, and there's another 10 in the pipeline. So I think, along with the success the folks at the Dunes in East Garrison are seeing in selling the units, that has stimulated the Marina Heights folks to start up the machine, restart the machine, and get it rolling. So we're looking forward to that. Moving ahead, this area here is what's referred to often as the Cypress Knolls project. We're sitting right about here, and this project has recently had a number of concepts brought forward to the city of Marina, and so we're looking forward to some of those working their way through the city and eventually having one that will catalyze this whole development here. So this is originally permitted in a specific plan as a retirement community, and I think there's a sort of broader interpretation being proposed for folks to look at, and so that would again kind of help this whole area just realize some real community growth and people, which will drive all kinds of things. This is a new building currently in the pipeline up at CSUMB. The Business Information Technology building is here. This one's called Academic 3, and that'll be rolling out in the coming months, so that's another major project. As CSUMB concludes a master planning project that they've had underway since last year, that'll drive a number of developments on the campus, including this one. There's a student center also being planned for Inter-Garrison Road. So any folks who are interested in participating in these projects would certainly want to, reach out to the university and get in position to do that. another project happening, planned and approved for the southeast corner of the CSUMB campus, which is here. This is a segment which will become the new Monterey Bay Charter School campus. This is a K through 8 charter school. It's a much needed resource. One of the issues that we encounter in attracting folks to the region, especially young families and professional families, is the availability of quality education, K through 8 education. So we're looking forward to having this on Fort Ord, and will grow the enrollment. I think they're currently in Pacific Grove with just over 300 students. They'll be able to achieve almost 600 students in this new campus. So other stuff that's happening is there's continued building removal that will need to be done here, as you can tell. And so those projects are working their way through the various regulatory and partnership pipelines. So if that's a line of work that's interest to you, certainly pay attention to our websites and notices for that. In the city of Seaside, there's a number of big projects being planned, including this one, which is referred to as Surplus 2. Actually, it includes a bunch of property along Lightfighter Drive. This is General Jim Moore here, and Giggling. And so CSUMB campus is here. Now, these are where there's currently a bunch of decrepit Vietnam-era buildings that are part of that future building removal effort. Once all that planning and deal making happens with their current developers, then this actually has some tremendous potential. It's got incredible views of the bay, and it's directly adjacent to CSUMB campus and the National Monument properties to the south and east. So we often refer to this as the Westwood of Monterey. If you're familiar with Westwood down in LA, it's directly adjacent to the campus at UCLA. So this has some great potential. And then this has retail and office concepts along with some entertainment is the current thinking there. So there's a lot coming down the line for that project. Also in the city of Seaside, there is a current RFP out for what's referred to as the main gate parcels, which this is Highway 1 here and Lightfighter Drive. It's a 50-acre parcel that has a approved specific plan for a lifestyle retail center. This RFP is looking for revisioned ideas of what that could be, reflecting current thinking on how retail functions and what the regional demand is for services. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, that's available through the Seaside, City of Seaside website. There's also a continued development at the Seaside Resort, this is Bayonet and Black Horse Golf Course. There's a custom home development down here, Cypress Grove, and that has continuing opportunities, as well as there's a large hotel resort project that's part of this that will be coming down the pipeline. So that's, again, stuff to pay attention to at the City of Seaside. Lots of potential there. Not to be forgotten, our friends at the big city, the grand city of Rey Oaks. This is Dan Dawson, city manager, standing out, looking hopeful on his new development project, which will become ideally an RV resort on the coast here, and that's moving through. In fact, it's before the FORA board this Friday. So if you want to come out and support the redevelopment of Rey Oaks, you might turn out for that one. You going to be here, Ron, for that? Not for that. Okay, well, so the picture of Dan was right up in this area, and right here in this area. He was standing in that patch of dirt. This is South Boundary Road here, and these parcels are owned by the city of Monterey, and they're development parcels. They're entertaining any number of possibilities consistent with the city's general plan. We've seen a few ideas come through and then disappear into the vapor, but I know they're eager to find a good fit. So keep the ideas coming for those folks who are in the idea business. And finally, just to close, there is a project called the Fort Ord Rec Trail and Greenway, which is included in the Transportation Agency of Monterey County, TAMC's current transportation Measure X, which is on the ballot. And if that were to be approved, there would be a certain number of millions of dollars that would be invested in creating this mixed-use trail that would connect with the existing coastal rec trail. So it would really expand local and tourism access to the city of Marina, the back hills of Seaside, and down through the main part of Seaside. So really exciting project to link the Fort Ord properties with the existing recreation demand in the region. So with that, I'll let you get back to finishing your lunch, and certainly happy to answer any questions or assist in any way.
We have about 5 minutes because I understand that we're going to give you 15 minutes to just relax and chill out before we restart at 1 o'clock. So if there are questions, please.
Okay.
Seeing none, you have 20 minutes to relax and chill out. Wait a minute. Ron Cheshire, yes, sir. Our Public Works program anticipated that we might have in the range of $400 to $425 million of infrastructure costs. Our original base reuse plan estimated our transportation costs at $125 million, but with the escalation over time that's required under CEQA, that number is more than doubled. We've been able to get certain grants to keep that in a relatively low rate, but overall, the cost is going to be $400 to $500 million just in infrastructure. But when you understand that you're building in the range of 6,000 plus new housing units and rehabbing 4,000 to 5,000 housing units, and you're building millions of square feet of commercial and office space, you can understand why our cost of construction is estimated to be between $5 and $6 billion. Enjoy your time.